disease management of commercial Norway spruce plantation. So our scenario is that we have a commercial grower of Norway spruce in Ontario, Canada, and they've reached out for advice on how to prevent and reduce the impact of pests and disease on the plantation. The landowner's objectives are the production of high value commercial spruce for timber production. So there is a low threshold of disease in this case. Two important aspects of this system as compared to maybe other disease management systems. One, it is a monoculture, which is important because diseases can rapidly spread throughout the population due to lack of genetic diversity. And second is disease threshold, which is important to consider. Our management objective requires a more active management of disease as compared to, say, other forestry management objectives such as pulp and biomass production, which would have a higher threshold of disease. So overall, our management strategy is based on the concept of silviculture, that is forest management practices that manipulate the host and the environment to be less susceptible to insects, disease, as well as promote overall stand vigor, health, and productivity. This goes back to the disease triangle concept. You want to have a environment that's not susceptible to disease and a host that is vigorous and productive. And there are multiple different stages during the management, there are multiple different stages during management that you can practice this. So during pre-planning, you want to consider site selection, soil type, drainage class, rooting depth. You want to plant the right tree to the right site where it's going to have highest productivity and vigor and subsequently lowest incidence of disease occurrence. Promote stand vigor, avoid injury and soil compaction during harvesting. Thinning is very important to facilitate airflow, to reduce competition, improve overall tree vigor. So you want to incorporate appropriately timed thinning when it can maximize productivity and yield, as well as overall health of your stand. And then considering harvesting of trees before reaching pathological rotation age, which is the age at which rate of increase of growth equals rate of loss due to decay. So we just move into some of the diseases. Scleroderus canker, foliar fungal pathogen, favors wet weather, can cause dieback, buds, needles, and mortality in young trees. So for this, you want to start out with pre-planting stage. You want to start out with disease-free nursery stock. This is a primary source of inoculum. You start out with disease-free stock. You move on from there. Additionally, during the planting stage, you can choose to plant in areas that are less prone, or during times that are less prone to disease. There's specific months of the year when this is most occurrent, such as the summer months. And additionally, you can use fungicide applications on seedlings. Another very important disease is armillaria root rot. This is a major problem in monocultures and plantations. In conifers, this acts more as a secondary pathogen, or in hardwoods, this acts more as a secondary pathogen, but in conifers, this is a lethal and primary pathogen. It can cause root and bud loss, loss of radial growth, wind throw. So cultural control practices are mainly based on avoidance. So you want to select sites that have low or no past history of disease incidents, as the inoculum can survive in soil for years. And eradication, you want to remove all sources of old inoculum, stump removal. When you're harvesting, you can do pushover logging to remove stumps that would serve as primary inoculum in the future. Annonosome root rot is another very important fungal disease. In this case, there's two primary means of spread. Basidiospores can wind disperse to freshly cut stumps, which occur after harvesting. And the disease can also spread through grafted trees. So this is actually considered to be the most important pathogen of conifers in the Northern Hemisphere. It can cause extensive root kill and decay, can lead to butt rot and heart rot, and blowdown in severe cases. So practices for this, since this can be spread by harvesting and thinning, you want to extend the duration between thinnings. You want to reduce the number of thinnings. You can widen tree spacings to do this. Additionally, you can chemically treat stumps with either chemical methods and some biological control methods as well. So just briefly, the insect problems, the spruce budworm, this is just an example of a defoliator. There are a lot of defoliators that could be example. In general, these do not cause significant harm unless they occur over multiple consecutive years. In those cases, they often act kind of as an inciting factor, which can predispose trees to other pathogens or insects such as bark beetles, which could lead to mortality. So in this case, there's actually, in most cases, there's no control recommended if it's just an isolated incident or it's not too severe. If it is very severe, you can use aerial sprays of BT to reduce population density. And here are my sources.